All right, back here with Captain Marty in the studio. And Marty, you've told quite a few stories already. You've done a lot in your lifetime. I mean, it's one of those things that I guess they could call it a life you could hang your hat on, you know? But I was just wondering, like...
Oh, by the way, on that subject, I've meant to tell you this. I want you to, when my time comes, you're in charge of my headstone, okay?
Okay.
Here's what I want you to say. We'll put this on this podcast so there's an official record, okay?
Okay, official record. Here it is.
And you make sure this happens. I'm dead serious.
Oh, dead serious. Okay.
I wanted to say too little, too late. That's all I wanted to say.
Too little, too late. Okay. We've got record of this.
Yeah.
Well, now that we have record of this, it's something that I will never forget. Yeah. And I was just really honestly wondering, Cap, something that you don't forget a lot, but like what is something that really jumps out at you that you just know that you will remember until I have to put that on your headstone?
Well, we joke about that a little bit, all in good. Well, it's not really in good fun. When I do go, I really want to make people laugh.
Okay.
So be working on that.
Yes, sir.
But what I would like to tell you is a much more somber and serious story about a day I'll never forget in the fall of 1982, and I'll be right back to tell it.
Frisco Woods Campground, a family-owned gem for over 50 years, offers a perfect getaway on Hatteras Island. Whether you prefer tent camping, electric water sites, RV spots, or primitive camping cabins, there's something for everyone. Guests enjoy free hot showers, a refreshing pool, and breathtaking sunsets over the Pamlico Sound. Nestled in nature, yet close to local attractions, Frisco Woods Campground provides a peaceful retreat with modern comforts, making it an ideal destination for outdoor enthusiasts and families alike. Book online at the Frisco Woods Campground.com. Frisco Woods Campground, 50 years of memory making on Hatteras Island.
Red Drum Tackle in Buxton is the oldest complete tackle shop at Cape Hatteras. And being the closest tackle shop to Cape Point, Red Drum Tackle has been welcoming fishermen to Hatteras Island with a wide selection of bait and tackle, skilled custom rod builds, rod and reel repair, expert knowledge and information since 1974. Red Drum Tackle knows how, when, and where to fish. To acquire this fishing brain power, visit them online at reddrumtackle.com. Red Drum Tackle, the oldest complete tackle shop at Cape Hatteras and the closest to Cape Point in Buxton.
So, as you know, Justin, in the fall of 1982, as you know, people have to do stuff to extend out their charter season. The charter season alone is pretty much Memorial Day to, you might say, Thanksgiving now. But people do different things. Even now, they travel mostly and go fishing in exotic places. But we worked in the boat shops. We commercial fished. But one of the things we did most was take our charter boats, and I love this, and most of the people from this era would tell you the same thing, and we'd go commercial fishing on our charter boat with nobody else but the captain and the mate on the boat. What was so fun about that? You didn't have to deal with clients, which, that was the fun part of charter fishing, but it could be hard and challenging. It was just you and the captain. So in the fall of the year, you'd extend your season into the shoulder season, mostly by going king mackerel fishing. All this would have been hook and line fishing. But we got to where the hook and line king mackerel fishing had fell off, and it was right around Thanksgiving weekend. And so we went out and said, I wonder if there's any tuna still out on the Gulf Stream a little bit further offshore that we could go do that. That wasn't something people did in 1982 as a sideline. They always went mackerel fishing or went on a trawl boat or went on a gill netting boat.
Right.
So we went out there, and pretty quickly we did about a week or two of some of the best tuna fishing we'd seen all year. That's when we really learned that the tunas were out there in the fall of the year. So we went out there and did that for a while. And on this particular day, there was Omie Tillett, the father of our fleet, on the Sportsman, and on that boat was Sonny Eslinger, which was his mate. Sonny had worked as a freelance mate all summer long, and when Omie's mate went back to college, Sonny hopped on there and did the fall commercial fishing stint with him. Sonny was a native Floridian like myself, and he was one of the many, many people that would fish here all summer and fish South Florida all winter. There used to be a lot of people, and a lot of our local people would go down there and do it just in reverse. They'd fish here at home and then go down and fish in Palm Beach or Jupiter or Stewart. So that was Sonny. Then that day, Brenner Parks was out there on the smoker with his mate, Mark Danley, And I was out there on the Tarheel as the mate for John Bayliss on the Ricky Scarborough built Tarheel. We all had a really good day of tuna fishing. We had over 50 yellowfin tuna ourselves. And so, we had a real good bite late in the day, and you're basically like just getting maxed out on what you can hold. And then we got ready to start in. Well, all three of us boats, you always run together when you can, and you always keep an eye on the other boats, because if anybody were to stop for any reason, you need to find out why they stopped. The radio maybe went out, maybe they're on fire, who knows. So that day, all three boats had a cockpit, which is the fishing area, full of tuna. We couldn't get them in the fish box. We threw whole tuna on the deck for the time being. It was really cool. So cool in temperature wise.
Right.
So we headed in, and John said, "Marty, you can steer the boat, and I'll go down and gut tuna, or I can steer the boat and you can gut tuna." I said, "You're the captain. I'll go down and start gutting tuna." Well, the same thing happened on both the Sportsman with Omie and the Smoker with Brenner Parks. And we've been heading in for about 30 minutes when I heard the Tarheel slow down. I'm like, something's wrong, he's slowing down. Now, what happened? I'll tell you when I come back in just a moment.
Surrounded by water, Currituck and the people of the Outer Banks have been shaped and defined by its rich and coastal maritime history. The Currituck Maritime Museum tells the story of Currituck's boat-building forefathers, their remarkable craft, and the legacy they left behind on how to live life and thrive on the waters of the Outer Banks. Discover the Maritime Museum in historic Corolla Park, across the street from the Currituck Beach Lighthouse, and visit us online at currituckmaritimemuseum.com. Be a part of the local history at the Currituck Maritime Museum.
So what happened? Anytime a boat slows down while you're en route to something's wrong.
Something's happening.
And I hollered up to John and said, "What's wrong?" It wasn't something wrong with our boat. He said, "Omie has stopped up here ahead of us." And I saw, he said, I saw Omie climb down off the flying bridge once his boat was stopped, and he's doing something in the cockpit of the boat. And Brenner Parks came up alongside of us and said, "What's going on up there?" And we said, "We better go up there and find out," because Omie was not at the radio. He had left the bridge and the radio, and he was down. As we got close, we could see that he was in the cockpit doing CPR on his mate. Now, his mate, Sonny, at the time was like 50 years old. He was old for a mate, but he had dropped out in the middle of his pile of tuna while he was gutting fish. And Omie didn't have time to call for help. He just went down there and Omie, started doing CPR on him. So that gave me cold chills as we pulled up alongside. I could see it going on over there. And John very quickly said, "One of us has got to go help Omie." All right, so now I will tell you this. Brenner and his mate had the same conversation. And in both cases, them being the captain, and both of us, I was a licensed captain and had run the Tarheel before, and so had Mark Danley run the Smoker. But in both cases, the captain said, "No, I don't want you jumping I'll do it. You pull me up there and I'll go help." So we had all had CPR training. John and I had just taken it. So now I'm the captain trying. It's very difficult to pull in rough seas to pull two boats together, get a person from one boat onto another without tearing up something or hurting somebody. But I pulled up there, and John got over onto the boat. Then I pulled the Tarheel out of the way, and the Smoker came up, and his mate also did a good job and got Brenner on the boat. And right then, I knew things were bad. So Brenner, what they did was they took over the CPR. Brenner and John got down there, and this is somebody they knew very well who was laying in the cockpit and not looking too good. Omie got back up on the bridge and, of course, called the Coast Guard and got the boat headed for shore. And immediately the Coast Guard launched a helicopter all our helicopters come out of Elizabeth City. And as you know, that's a hike.
It is.
But they service the whole mid-Atlantic coast out of Elizabeth City. So, the sun was going down now in the west, and I was thinking, oh gosh, I hope Sonny's okay. I hope that, but now I'm half a mile behind. I can't see what's going on, but I can see Omie driving, and I can see them guys, their heads sticking up above the gun a little bit as they're bent over in a bed of tuna doing CPR. Well, the part of it I never forget, to get back to your question in the beginning, was eventually, as the sun was down and it was getting ready to get dark, the Coast Guard came along. Now, when they take a basket and pull somebody off a boat, you have to keep your boat moving. You don't stop. They want you holding course. So Omie kept the boat going along slowly at about 10 knots. And that is easier for the pilot to come in and hover over you at the same speed. I'll never forget the Coast Guardsman coming down first, just alone, one of the paramedics, and him getting there and doing everything he could do. But then they sent for the basket to come down. That was the next thing that happened. And the part I'll never forget is that basket came down, and they loaded Sonny into that basket, and it went up to the helicopter. Now, nobody had ever stopped doing CPR except for the few moments they took to snatch that basket up into the helicopter. Then they resumed it again and headed for Elizabeth City. Meanwhile, after going through that, Brenner and John elected to stick with Omie and said, "You got on the radio and told Mark and I, y'all just follow us. We're going home." And we got to the dock that night about 10 o'clock over to Will Etheridge's dock. And about the time we pulled in the dock, we got word that Sonny had not made it. But I will never, ever forget that basket going up with the sun on the horizon and just thinking about life, and how fragile life can be. But there's a guy at the end of his road, died doing something he loved doing. And it just always made me think about that a little bit, about what happened. And also the courage that Omie, John, and Brenner showed. I've never had to do CPR on a person, especially 40 miles out in the ocean. But they did what had to be done. And, my tip of the hat to those guys.